So now that we've learned 3 new techniques, let's go ahead and try out one of the applications that I mentioned at the end of video 3. And I think my favorite for this particular type of technique would be a social media image, because if you can create your own templates that you can use in your business, then it will become identifiable with you instead of all the other users of, template sites like Canva and such, where somebody else could be using the exact same template as you. If you create your own, you can go ahead and reuse that over and over in your business, and it becomes an identifier of your business. So let's create a Instagram template. So we're going to go to File and New. And if you wanted to do this as Pinterest, you would just want to enter in your custom widths and heights. You can do either 600 by 900 pixels or 1000 by 1500 pixels. They just want it to be a ratio of 2 to 3. So let's go into our web presets, and under social media square post, which is 1080 by 1080, that would be good for Instagram. So we'll just pick that as our template. I don't want to work on this checkerboard, so let's get rid of the transparent background. So Document Setup, Color tab, and then uncheck Transparent Background. So we'll say OK. Now we've got a white canvas to work on. So the first thing we'll do is we will make our little paint swatch. So I'm going to go to the vector brush tool again. We know that we've got a 1080 canvas here, so I want to go to my brushes. I'm going to use just this same brush because it worked pretty well. So that was a Dense Impasto 04. And because I've got a 1080 canvas, if I want the image to fill it, I'm going to make my brush pretty big. So I'm going to go pretty close to the 500 mark or so. Doesn't have to be exact because we can make some adjustments later. All right, so now I've got a really huge paintbrush, and I can just go ahead and paint this. Let's undo that. I want to make sure I've got jagged edges on both sides. I think it rounded because I kind of swiped back with my mouse. I kind of went back this way. So now we've got our nice splotch. Doesn't matter what color it is. And then we're going to go to Layers, and let's go ahead and right click, Rasterize and Trim. Now at this point, I know they say never scale up an image, but you could just tweak this a little bit. If you want your image to take up a bigger area, you can a little bit, because this is really just going to be a mask. So, if you make that minor adjustment, it's not going to do any harm. All right, so let's stick this down a bit here. And then we're going to place our image. So File, Place. And we'll just make this something about graphic design and continue using the same picture that we've been using. And I'm going to place it. Here we have it really big again. Let's move the transform spot to the middle here and change our width to 1000. And you can see that left it on the artboard by changing the reference to where it transforms from. So we will position this. And if you want to see what exactly is going to get covered, you can drag it down and to the left, and that will put it under the splotch. And then we can just make some adjustments there and decide exactly what we want in the picture. You can also go to this pixel layer, take the opacity down a bit, and that will give you a better idea of what you're going to be seeing through there. So I think I want to have just a little bit more of these color swatches in there, so I'm going to move this a bit down. I do also want some of the markers though, so do something like that. And now I can turn my pixel opacity back up. Now I can just take this picture and I'm just going to nest it under here, and now we have this masked. All right, so next let's change this background. So I'm going to draw out a rectangle. My snapping is on, so we're able to get a nice 1080 by 1080 rectangle here. And let's take the stroke off of that and we just want to fill color. And so I've kind of looked at the colors in my image there, and I just want to pick like a nice light pink, I think, something like that. And now I can drag that down and to the left so that it doesn't mask. And now we've got a background here. Now let's go ahead and make a title for this. So I'm going to go back to the vector brush. This time I don't need it quite so huge, so let's turn it down to maybe 300 or so. That looks like a decent size. I'm going to go make sure I'm on my oil brush, and I'm just going to paint out this way. Now we didn't see that because the color isn't changed. So let's go to layers, find that curve, and then we can change the color of it. Maybe just a little more to the blues. Maybe something like that. Okay, so now let's add some text. So I'm going to add a big number 6 here, and then I'm also with the artistic text. Squish it up a little bit. And then let's make this 6. Let's change some fonts here. So let's find something that we want something kind of nice and thick that will pop. That's not bad. We can just rotate it a little bit, make it a little more fun and playful. And then this, make sure that our text is selected, and we'll find a better font for that too. I kind of like that one. It's nice and simple. And I think it sort of suits the mood of graphic design. It's got a little bit of a modern, clean look to it without being too obvious. And then we can copy and paste this. We'll put this down here, and this will become, so we'll go www.mysite.com, not my sty, my site. Okay, and we can make that a little bit smaller if we want. If you had a logo, you could put your logo in one of these corners. You could also just take a little rectangle, add that to the bottom, and then we'll drag that underneath and to the left so that it goes under the mysites.com. And let's just make this a little bit narrower, and then we will take this and move it down a little. So if you wanted to then save this, then the next time you want to use this, you've got another post, let's say, you could just open it up, do a save as, so file, save as, give it a new name, and that way you won't lose your old one. Or the other thing you can do is you can add an artboard, and then you can duplicate your artboard here. So let's just show that. Okay, so let's see how we would duplicate this. So right now we're not working with artboards, we've just got our individual layers. So I'm going to go over here to the artboard tool and just click Insert Artboard, and you can see that converted my layers into a single artboard. And now I can right click on that and just duplicate it. and I can rename that. I'll call it Artboard 2. And then it is selected right now, so with my Move tool, I'm just going to pick up the whole artboard and just move it next door. So now, in order to edit this, I'm going to expand Artboard 2. Let's start out by placing a new image here. So on Artboard 2, File, Place, and let's just pick, I'll just pick an image from some brushes I made. This is a smaller one, so I would never actually scale it up this big, but just for demonstration purposes, let's just make it big enough to fill the space. And then I can get rid of our original photo, just highlight it and delete it. And then I'm going to take my new image and drag it under that pixel layer. Now we've got our new image masked. I can go over to my text here. We'll just say we've got 5, and then I'm going to edit this. Fun Affinity brushes. Since this is a smaller phrase, I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. And my site hasn't changed, nothing else has changed. If I wanted to change up the colors for different images, I could. But just like that, in a minute, I've got a brand new social image for my next post. So by the time it takes for you to open up Canva and load it, you can be working on your own custom template in Designer. And I usually do about 8 or so of these in a single AF design document, just side by side. I'll do a row of 4 and then I'll start another row below here. And then I'll call that file good and I'll just do a new one. And to just do a new one, you just go File, Save As, give it a different name, and then you can start working off of that file for your next set of images. And then when you want to export, if you just want to export a single one, let's say that I just wrote this post and I just want this one, I pick Export. Let's say I want a JPEG, and under the area I'm just going to choose Artboard 2 as the only thing that I want to export, and I export it. So I hope that gives you some ideas for using some of these techniques to create your own social media images,